You've got around 15 minutes, I said. Bryce Caldwell stared at me like I had just told him his Tesla ran on pure hope and LinkedIn posts. Excuse me? I pushed my security badge across the conference table. It slid to a stop right between his overpriced cold brew and the stack of severance papers. 15 minutes until everything starts to fall apart, maybe even less. Victor, I'm not making any threats, just sharing facts. I stood up and smoothed my shirt. Good luck trying to find my documentation. Then I walked out of that conference room for the last time. My name is Victor Reynolds. I'm 52 years old and I just got fired by a 27-year-old who married the CEO's daughter at a wellness retreat and now believes legacy. Infrastructure means anything built before he finished his MBA. Let me go back a bit and explain how we ended up here. You can always tell what a company really cares about by who gets the corner office and who ends up in the server room. At Eldridge Corporation, the server room smelled like melted plastic and years of neglect. The corner office smelled like expensive cologne and confidence that was never really earned. I had been keeping the digital core of this place running since 2011. My title was Senior Systems Architect, but what I really did felt more like being an emergency room doctor for failing code. The kind of work people only notice when it stops. The problems started when Bryce rolled in his standing desk setup onto the executive floor. The guy married the CEO's daughter after one weekend in Sedona doing hot yoga and drinking some kind of mushroom tea, and 3 months later, he was Chief Innovation Officer. 3 months. I had spent more time than that just fixing our payment system after a bad vendor update back in 2019. Bryce was 27, wore a Patagonia vest every day without fail, and kept AirPods in his ears like they were permanent. I was pretty sure he even slept with them. He had an MBA from some famous school and almost no real idea of how things actually worked under the surface. But he had opinions. A lot of them. During his first all-hands meeting, he stood there with his cold brew and started throwing around words like technical debt, legacy overhead, and how we needed to move fast and break things. I sat in the back with my arms crossed, thinking about the 72-hour shift I had pulled in 2022 when ransomware almost took down our finance system. I was the one who kept things from breaking. He wanted to break them on purpose and call it progress. We're entering a bold new phase, Bryce said, clicking through slides that looked like they were copied from some online blog. Legacy infrastructure is holding us back. We need new ideas, modern thinking, and honestly, fewer people stuck in old ways of working. People shifted in their chairs. I didn't move. I had heard this kind of talk before, just with different words. Old means bad. Experience means expensive. People under 30 don't think they need someone who remembers fixing Y2K problems. He looked directly at me when he said that last part. Straight eye contact. Fewer people stuck in old ways. I held his look and gave a small smile. The kind of smile you give when you know something the other person doesn't. What Bryce didn't know, and probably never bothered to find out, was that I had built the automation scripts that kept our entire vendor management system running. Every night at 2 a.m., my code fixed data errors, caught billing issues before clients ever saw them, and kept everything from falling apart. I had written those scripts back in 2013 after the third time someone's quick fix almost erased our customer database. Those scripts were mine, legally mine. My contract was very clear about ownership. Anything I built on my own time, using my own methods, belonged to me. The company could use them, but only while I was still employed and providing regular maintenance. No job, no maintenance, no access. I had shown that contract to the company lawyer when I signed it in 2011. He read it carefully, looked up at me and said, "Keep good records, Victor." I kept perfect records. Bryce kept talking about his big ideas. Cloud-first systems, AI-driven everything, agile sprints, synergy. I stopped listening and started thinking about my daughter Katie. Her tuition was due next month. She's 21, a junior studying biology. I thought about the health insurance that covered her diabetes medication and the pension that would fully max out in 3 more years when I turned 55. I had already given this company 14 years. I told myself I could last 3 more. 2 weeks after that meeting, I got a calendar invite, subject line, quick sync, HR, no details, no explanation, just a 4:30 p.m. slot on a Thursday. I had seen this before, the late afternoon meetings, the neutral HR face, the folder with severance terms. They never did it in the morning. Too much risk. Someone might react, cause a scene, disturb the day. Better to wait until everyone is tired and just wants to go home. I arrived at 4:28 p.m., professional until the end. Bryce was already there, sitting casually on the edge of the table with his leadership coach, a guy named Trevor who wore expensive designer sneakers and called himself a culture transformation specialist. Angela from HR sat in the corner, looking like she would rather be anywhere else. She slid a company folder across the table. "Victor," Bryce began, and I could tell he had practiced this speech. "You've been a valuable part of Eldridge's journey. Very valuable. But we're restructuring to match where the industry is going. More agile, more collaborative, more forward-thinking." I just watched him. Didn't say a word. "We're reimagining some legacy roles," he continued. Translation: "You're expensive and you make me look bad when my ideas don't work. We believe this is a good time for you to explore new opportunities that better match your experience level." Trevor nodded like this was some kind of great speech. Angela pushed the severance agreement toward me. 3 months' salary, health coverage options, and job placement support. I picked it up and read through it. I used to review contracts for this company before Bryce decided that was a waste of time. "Any questions?" Bryce asked, smiling like he had just helped me. That's when I said it. "You've got about 15 minutes. I didn't go straight home. I walked 2 blocks to Murphy's Tap, a small veterans bar where the owner knew to pour Maker's Mark without even asking. I sat in my usual corner booth where I could still see the Eldridge building through the window. The 15th floor was still fully lit, like nothing had changed. I put my phone face down on the table. No calls yet, no messages. Just the quiet sound of the TV above the bar and pool balls hitting in the back. Tommy Murphy, the owner, brought over my drink. Former Navy, used to run systems on aircraft carriers before retiring and opening this place. He was about 58, with a gray beard and the kind of calm you get from years of handling problems without panicking. He set the glass down, looked at me, then at the phone, then back at me. "They finally did it?" he asked. "Yeah." "How long you think they've got?" 15 minutes. Maybe less. He sat down across from me with his coffee. "You remember when I told you about Norfolk?" I did, but I let him say it again. "Sometimes you need to hear that you're not alone." 2019, he said. 22 years at Lockheed. Systems engineer, clearance, everything. New VP comes in, fancy MBA, couldn't tell a server from a coffee machine, starts talking about optimizing staff and cutting old positions. He took a sip. Fired me on a Thursday. By Monday, their entire network was down. Turns out I was the only one who knew how the backup systems worked. "They call you back?" I asked. "Oh yeah." Offered me contract work to fix it. I told them my fee was 5 times my old salary, 6-month minimum paid up front. He smiled. They agreed. Took me 3 days to fix everything. Then I left. "That's when you bought this place?" I asked. "That's right. Best choice I ever made." He looked around the bar. No MBAs, no reviews, just good drinks, real people, and going home when I want. My phone started vibrating, once, twice, then constantly. Tommy looked at it. "That them?" "Yeah. You gonna pick up?" "No." He nodded and stood up. "I'll be at the bar if you need anything." I took a slow sip of the bourbon. The burn felt real, felt honest. Here's what people don't tell you about being the person who holds everything together. You become invisible, not because you are bad at your job, but because you are just too good at it. Things simply work, systems keep running smoothly, and people forget that someone is making that happen. They forget until you stop. My scripts were not complex, just strong automation built on 14 years of watching things fail and break. Every night at 2 a.m., they would run through the vendor database, find duplicate entries, mark expired contracts, and fix invoice mismatches. Every morning at 6 a.m., they would check API connections, test failover systems, and confirm backup integrity. Boring work. Important work. The kind of work nobody sees until it stops happening. I had tried to explain this to Bryce about 2 months earlier. I showed him the dashboard, walked him through the error logs, and explained how one small failure could turn into big problems. He listened for maybe 45 seconds before stopping me. Right, but modern platforms have built-in redundancy, he said, not even looking up from his phone. This kind of manual checking is anti-agile. We need to trust the systems. The systems fail, I told him. That is why we have oversight. That is old thinking, Victor. We are moving toward autonomous infrastructure. I pulled up the logs from last year when our autonomous infrastructure went down for 14 hours. I showed him how my backup systems kept customer operations running while everyone else panicked. He scrolled through maybe 3 lines. Exactly, he said. Single points of failure. That is what we need to remove. I was the single point of failure he wanted to remove. My phone lit up again. Angela from HR, then Darren from procurement, then a number I did not recognize with a 212 area code, probably someone from corporate. I let them all ring. The thing about systems is they do not break all at once. They slowly weaken. Small failures turn into bigger ones. It is like removing cards from a house of cards. Nothing happens at first, then suddenly everything falls apart. You get warnings if you know what to listen for. They were not listening. A text from Darren showed up on my screen. Vic, email system acting strange. Messages are bouncing. Do you know what is going on? I typed back, check the documentation. 3 dots showed up right away. Then, what documentation? I put my phone back down. See, there was documentation. 286 pages of it. Process flows, system diagrams, recovery steps, emergency contacts, vendor details. I had written it myself over the years, updated it every few months, kept it current. It was stored in the shared drive in a folder clearly named Critical Infrastructure v. Reynolds. Bryce had that folder deleted 5 weeks ago during a storage cleanup audit. He said it was old data taking up space. I objected in writing. He overruled me in an email that said, "We are moving toward cloud-based knowledge management. Static documents are a crutch." Of course, I kept my own copy. On my personal laptop, which was currently in my F-150, parked outside. The TV over the bar flickered to the local business channel. A breaking news line scrolled across the bottom. Eldridge Corporation stock drops 8% in after-hours trading amid reports of technical issues. Tommy looked at the screen, then at me, raised an eyebrow, did not say anything. My phone started ringing nonstop now. Different numbers coming in. Same panic, different people. A text from Angela. "Victor, please call me. We need to discuss transition procedures." A text from Bryce. "Hey, hope you are doing okay. Quick question, where are the vendor API configs stored?" Then another from Bryce. "This is kind of urgent. Please respond when you can." Then, "Victor, I know we did not end things well, but we really need your help here." I finished my bourbon, held up the empty glass toward Tommy. He brought the bottle over and poured 2 fingers. "Stock is down 8%, he said quietly. "Just getting started," I said. "You sabotage anything?" "Did not touch a thing, just stopped fixing it." "Is there a difference?" I looked at him. Big difference. Sabotage is breaking something that works. This is just letting broken things stay broken. He thought about that, nodded slowly, and walked back to the bar. Behind me, the TV anchor was saying, "Sources inside the company report widespread system failures affecting multiple departments." I picked up my phone, scrolled through the messages. 17. Now. The desperation was growing fast. My daughter had texted earlier before the meeting. "Good luck today, Dad. Love you." She did not know I had been fired, did not know her insulin coverage just became a problem, did not know I had spent 3 years counting on a pension that just disappeared. But she would know I did not beg, did not go back, did not change who I was for people who never valued it. The phone buzzed again. CEO this time, the old man himself calling directly. I watched it ring until it went to voicemail. Tommy called from the bar. "Another?" I looked at my glass. Still half full. Not yet. What happens now, I thought, is they learn what I was really worth, the hard way. By 11 p.m., my phone had 63 unread messages. I stopped counting after 40. I drove home around midnight, left the phone in the truck, and slept better than I had in months. No 2 a.m. stress about whether the scripts were running. No 6 a.m. checks to make sure backups were done. Just deep, unbroken sleep. I woke up at 7 a.m. and saw my phone had blown up overnight. 127 messages, 34 missed calls. 3 voicemails from numbers I did not know. I made coffee, strong and black, using the French press. My daughter gave me for Christmas. I sat at the kitchen table and finally started reading. The first email had timestamps. That is what made it perfect. 2:47 a.m. Automated email routing failed. Messages started bouncing. 3:12 a.m. Vendor database sync failed. Duplicate entries increasing. 3:45 a.m. API authentication started failing. Client portals locked out. 4:23 a.m. Billing system could not match invoices. Processing stopped completely. 5:01 a.m. Backup check failed. No one noticed because no one was watching. 6:30 a.m. First client called support. Could not access their account. 7:15 a.m. 15 more clients called. Same issue. By 8 a.m. when the East Coast business day started, Eldridge Corporation was completely stuck. I read through Angela's emails. Professional panic. The corporate kind where people use many words to say we are in trouble. "Victor, we understand you are no longer with the company, but we are experiencing serious system issues. Any help you can provide would be greatly appreciated." Then Darren's. "Man, I do not know what is happening, but everything is broken. Email, vendors, billing, all of it. Can you at least point us in the right direction?" Then one from someone named Jennifer in it. "Mr. Reynolds, I am new on the infrastructure team. They are asking me to fix systems I have never seen before. Is there any documentation I can use?" I deleted them all without replying. The news picked it up by 10 a.m. Eldridge Corporation shares fall 30% as widespread technical outage enters second day. Good, I said simply. I didn't feel the need to add anything else. Then I put my phone in the drawer like I was closing that chapter for the night. "What kind of pasta?" I asked, changing the subject. Over dinner, Katie talked about her microbiology final, how hard it had been, and how she thought she might actually pass it better than expected. She also mentioned the lab position she'd been offered for next semester, her voice a little more excited than usual. Then she drifted into friend drama with a roommate, the kind of small chaos that fills student life. Normal things, good things. I realized I missed hearing those kinds of problems instead of corporate ones. I told her about my own day too. About the deposition, about how strange it felt to sit in a room full of lawyers talking about my old job like it was ancient history. It felt like watching someone else's life being reviewed piece by piece. "You miss it?" she asked, twirling pasta on her fork. "The work sometimes, the people, no. You like Stratum better?" "Stratum actually listens when I talk. That's worth more than you'd think." I meant that more than I said it. Being heard changes how you work. After dinner, I sat on the back porch with a glass of Maker's Mark. I wasn't celebrating anything specific. It was more like a habit of finally being able to breathe without pressure. The air outside was calm, and the neighborhood felt quiet in a steady way. My neighbor, a retired Marine named Bill, wandered over slowly, holding his own drink like it was part of his routine. He moved with that relaxed confidence of someone who has already dealt with worse days. "Heard you had depositions today. News travels fast." "Small neighborhood," he said with a slight shrug as he pulled up a chair beside me. "How'd it go?" They asked questions. I answered them. Pretty straightforward. "Your old company still imploding?" "Slowly. Lawsuit's going to take another year probably." He nodded like that made sense. "You know what they say. Best revenge is living well." I looked out toward the fading light for a moment, thinking about that phrase. About the last 6 months in particular. Better job, better pay, more respect. Time with my daughter that actually meant something. And sleep, real sleep, without waking up worried about systems breaking somewhere I used to be responsible for. "I think the best revenge," I said slowly, "is just letting people fail on their own terms." Bill raised an eyebrow slightly. "I didn't sabotage anything, just stopped saving them from themselves." He thought about that for a second. "There a difference?" "Big difference. One makes you the villain. The other just makes you absent." Bill gave a short laugh and lifted his glass. "I'll drink to that." We sat there in silence after that, just watching the sun set over the neighborhood. The sky changed color slowly, like it wasn't in a hurry. My phone was inside in the drawer, completely forgotten for once. No emergency alerts, no panicked messages, no systems depending on me to keep them alive. Just peace. 3 months later, Eldridge settled all the lawsuits. 18.7 million total. The CEO stepped down quietly, the kind of exit that tries to look planned even when it isn't. Bryce quietly left the company, his profile later reading independent consultant, which everyone knows is just a softer way of saying something ended. I never reached out, never gloated, never even checked their website. It didn't feel necessary anymore. I was too busy building something that actually worked in a steady, real way. That's the thing they never tell you about revenge. The loud kind, the dramatic kind, it's just noise. It looks big, but fades fast. The real kind, the kind that lasts, is when you walk away and build something better. When you prove that what they threw away had value, just not to them at that time. 14 years I gave that company. They erased it in 15 minutes without thinking much about it. I didn't get it back by fighting for it in the same place. I got it back in 6 months somewhere else. And maybe that's why it didn't feel like revenge at all. That's not revenge. That's just math.